Hi, in this video I'm going to do an example and I'm going to illustrate a special case of the force of interest. I encourage you to memorize this formula. A lot of times I tell you you don't need to memorize the formula, just learn the big picture. But this is a formula that I do encourage you to memorize because it will save you a lot of time on an actuarial exam, and these types of problems show up so often on actuarial exams that it's worth memorizing. So let me show you this example first. Let's start with the example, and then I'll derive the formula for you. So an amount X is deposited into an account on January 1st, 2015. The value of the deposit on January 1st, 2019 is 1,000. The account credits interest using a force of interest, delta t equals t divided by t squared plus 9, where t is the number of years after January 1st, 2015, and the question is to determine x. So in our solution, January 1st, 2015 corresponds to t equals 0. I know that because the problem says delta t equals this expression where t is the number of years after 1/1/2015. So 1/1/2015 corresponds to t equals 0. Likewise, 1/1/2019 corresponds to t equals 4. And so I'm trying to find the value at time 0 of this 1,000. That's a time 4 value. And so my equation that I'm trying to solve is that cap x is 1,000 times the periodic discount factor from time 4 to time 0. So the question is, well, what's that periodic discount factor from time 4 to time 0? And I actually know that in terms of accumulation functions as an a of 0 divided by a of 4. So if I knew what the accumulation function was, then I would be able to solve this. Now the numerator is a of 0. I know that value is 1. So really it's just an a of 4 that I really need to know. Okay, now I've got the when you calculate the accumulation function, of course, it depends on what type of interest. How are they telling you the interest is being accrued? In this case, I'm given a force of interest, and so generally I would say, well, then the accumulation function at time n would be an e raised to the integral from 0 to n of a delta t dt. That's just how I recover the accumulation function from the force of interest. So that's how I could write this. So let's focus on that last formula for a second. So now let's suppose that I'm in a specific situation. This is that special case that I'm talking about. Let's suppose that the force of interest was given to me as some constant times a ratio where the numerator is the derivative of the denominator. So in that case, then, let's look at the exponent of this exponential that's defining the accumulation function. In the exponent, I'm integrating from 0 to n delta t. Well, in the special case, then, delta t is this constant times this ratio. Now I could factor out the constant. When I factor out the constant, I'm integrating the derivative of a function over the function. So you could use a basic u substitution and see that integral is going to be the constant c times the natural log of the function. And then, of course, I evaluate that from the lower limit of integration 0 to the upper limit of integration n. And when I plug in the limits of integration, then I get this number c times the difference between the natural log of f of n and the natural log of f of 0. And then I can use properties of logarithms to combine what's in brackets as a single logarithm. So I get c times the ln of, and now the argument of the logarithm is f of n divided by f of 0. And then I could use another property of logarithms and bring that c up and write this then as the ln of f of n divided by f of 0 all raised to the c power. Now let me kind of clean up. Let's clean this up by just putting in the first and last expressions. So what I get then is that the integral in the exponent then becomes the ln, in this special case, the ln of this expression f of n divided by f of 0 raised to the c power. So then the a of n, the expression for the accumulation function at time n, is the e raised to that integral power, and so I get a of n equals e raised to the ln here, and of course the exponential and natural log are inverse functions of one another, and so what I end up with is just a of n equals f of n divided by f of 0 raised to the c power. So that's the special case, and I'll come back to it at the end of the video, but again, let me capture all the information here. What I'm saying is that if you have this implication, if the force of interest is equal to a constant times a ratio of the derivative of a function to itself, then the accumulation function at time n would be f of n divided by f of 0 raised to the c power. That's the fact that I want you to remember. So let's go back to our problem now. Our problem in this case, we had this force of interest delta t equals a t divided by t squared plus 9. So does that fit into our situation here? And even though it might not look like it at first, if it's going to, let's start with this. If it's going to fit into our situation, then the function, you recognize what the function is going to be by just looking at the denominator. So I have this ratio. If delta t is equal to a fraction, look at the denominator and set that equal to your function. Okay, so now, well, the derivative of that is actually a 2t and not t. However, I could tweak the expression for delta t and write that as with a numerator of 2t by taking a 1/2 and multiplying that out front. So even though it may not have looked like it fit into my special case to begin with, I could tweak it so that it does fit my special case, with the function being f of t equal t squared plus 9 and the c value being 1/2. So then I go back and, so this does fit into my special case. I go back and I look at, in red here, I've highlighted what the accumulation function is going to be. And so f of n, well, I just replace the t by an n, and I get an n squared plus 9. And then f of 0, plug in a 0 for t, and I get just a 9. And then, of course, c is raised to the 1/2. And so I get that the accumulation function in this case would be n squared plus 9 divided by 9, all raised to the 1/2 power. So let me kind of clean all of this up a little bit. Let's start with delta t being t divided by t squared plus 9. Then I recognize in the denominator I got a t squared plus 9. When I take a derivative of that, I get 2t. So I need to have a 2t in the numerator. So I put the 2t in the numerator by multiplying a 1/2 out in front of that. That fits my special case situation, and so I know what the accumulation function is at any time n. And so that's going to be very helpful, because now I've got that. What I'm trying to solve is I'm trying to solve for cap x. I know it's 1,000 times the periodic discount factor from time 4 back to time 0. The periodic discount factor I write in terms of the accumulation function is 1,000 times an a of 0 divided by an a of 4. A of 0 is always going to be a 1. A of 4, plug in a 4 for n, and I get 4 squared, or 16 plus 9 is 25. Get 25 divided by 9. I'm taking the square root of that. That's just 5/3. And so I get 1,000 times the fraction there that can be reduced to a 3/5 actually, and 1,000 times 3/5 is 600. So my answer is actually 600. Okay, so now I know it took me a little while to get to this, to get to here, but if I was to do this problem, what you see on the screen is all that I would have done. I wouldn't have gone through and derived the special case formulas that I did, and this would take me maybe 30 seconds to do the problem. Okay, so now let's go back and look at the problem again, and let's think about, well, if you weren't using the special formula here, the special case formula, how would you have to attack the problem? Well, the periodic discount factor from time 4 to time 0, then I would write as an e raised to an integral from 4 to 0 of the force of interest, and then plugging in the force of interest, then I'd have to evaluate this expression 1,000 times e raised to the integral from 4 to 0 of a t divided by t squared plus 9 dt. You'd have to go through the whole process of integrating. You would have to use a u substitution. Of course, it can all be done, and actually what you would do is you would do you would go through the exact same process that I went through in the earlier slides to derive the special case formula, but you would go through all of that, and you would get 600 as the answer also. Okay, so now I want to make one more comment. Then this problem, this was our actual problem, and I look at the force of interest there, and I see a fraction, so I automatically think, when the force of interest is given to me as a fraction like that, automatically think this is going to be one of those special cases. Now, what if the force of interest was given to us in the exact same problem, everything's the same, except the force of interest was given to us as a 0.06 t, for instance? Well, in that case, I have no choice but to just go through it and go through the longer process. There's no special case here. It's not a fraction. It's not going to fit into my special case. And so in this case, I would go through the process as I did just a little while ago. 1,000 times the periodic discount factor from 4 back to times 0. That would be a 1,000 times e raised to the integral from 4 to 0 of delta t dt. Now the delta t is the 0.06 t, so I'll plug that in. I integrate 0.06 t. I get a 0.03 t squared. Then I have to evaluate from a 4 to a 0. Plug in a 0, you get a 0, and then plug in a 4, and you get 4 squared is 16. You get 0.48, so I got a 0 minus a 0.48, so the exponent is going to be a minus 0.48, and then go through the arithmetic here, and you'll get 618.78. So if the delta t is not given to you in that form as a fraction, you have no choice but to just do something like this. Okay, but however, in this case, the delta t was given to me as a fraction. I automatically look at it and think, okay, this is going to be a special case. I take the denominator and I say that's going to be my function, and then if I have to tweak the rest of it, I do in order to put it in this form. If I can write delta t as this constant c times f prime of t over f of t, then I get this formula, this nice little formula for a of n, the accumulation function evaluated at time n. I want to make one other comment, is that sometimes I'll write it this way and use n as the independent variable on the right-hand side of that implication. Other times I might use just a t as the independent variable. But again, if you look at the difference, I just plugged in an n for t here. Sometimes I use n as the independent variable, sometimes I use t. So that's the formula that I strongly suggest that you memorize that formula. It is a useful formula in the sense that it will save you time on the exam, and not only saving you time, it's likely to show up on the exam. Okay, so I will see you in the next video.